Okay, so while we're waiting for that chicken breast to finish, I'm going to show you a quick veg set that again is going to use the saute, deglaze, reduce, and emulsify concept. So here we just have some squash, we have some green zucchini, and some yellow golden squash here. And this is one of my favorite vegetable sets. It's really quick and easy to do. So we'll take the squash, cut it into chunks. So I'll cut this lengthwise into quarters first, and then cross cut real quick into some chunks. Try not to go too small because the squash will cook relatively quickly and you don't want it to become mushy. I like it to have a little bit of a good crunch to it. So we'll cut this into chunks here real quick, and I will go ahead and turn on our saute pan, and we'll turn the saute pan all the way to high. Also too, one of my favorite all-time flavor combinations is squash, thyme, and garlic. And thyme and garlic are also very commonly paired with chicken. So this will be a quick little whole complete dish that you can do. But again, don't miss the forest for the trees here. What I want you to really focus on is the overall technique of saute, deglaze, reduce, and emulsify. So the chicken that we have working in the oven that we're going to finish with our mushroom scampi, that could be set on top of any number of sets, right, that you pair with it, depending upon the dish that you want to serve. This is just one option. And again, this squash, thyme, garlic saute option, which is also saute, deglaze, reduce, emulsify, can be paired with any number of proteins. So I'm just going through, I'm stripping this thyme off the stem because the stem can get kind of woody and fibrous, not break down during cooking, so it'll give you a bad mouthfeel and texture. Once the pan is nice and hot, again, we'll go back with our garlic oil just because we have it on hand. We're going to be pairing garlic with our squash anyways, so it'll add a nice complementary flavor to what we're doing here. So we'll take the squash, throw it into the pan. So notice too how I'm using a slightly larger saute pan. It's about a 10-inch saute pan right here, or a skillet, and it's big enough to allow my vegetables to be in one even layer. This will allow me to cook the exterior of the vegetables relatively quickly and evenly without them steaming and becoming soft. So if you're doing a larger portion of vegetables, number one, you'd want to use a little bit of a larger saute pan, but you're also going to reach a break point too. In your home, the largest saute pan you have is probably about 12 inches. So what you would need to do is compensate for the fact that you're going to lose some heat to some steam. So you want to get the pan really hot. Give it some extra time to charge over high heat. And when you drop it in, let the first layer sort of char and saute a little bit and get some color before you give it a shake and expose the brown sides in a couple of tosses. Okay, so we'll go ahead and let this guy hang out here for a second. In the meantime, we'll come through, give my fresh thyme a little bit of a mince here, and we'll set this aside. Because this is fresh, we want to finish with this right at the end. If we add this too early, we're going to lose all the nice perfumey nature of the essential oils that are inside the thyme, and we're just not going to get as good of a flavor. Give it another shake here. Little baseline seasoning with some salt. So you can see we have a little bit of a fond starting to build up here in the bottom of the pan. So before we deglaze that fond, I want to add my minced garlic here. Now again, when you're working with garlic, it's important to pay attention to your nose. When you add it in to the pan, that steam, that garlic smell is first going to be kind of raw and harsh. And you can smell the raw, almost green, harsh smell of the garlic. Then it's going to start to change on you. It's going to start to smell a little bit brown, and then you're going to get to a point where it starts to smell black or burnt. You want to stop the cooking process by deglazing before you get to the point where it starts to smell burnt. So wait till it smells nice and sweet. There's still some harshness up in the top of my nose, so I know my garlic's not quite ready yet, but I'm also flirting with the fond here. The fond's starting to get dark. I don't want it to get too dark, so that's going to give me a burnt flavor. So right about here, I'm going to pull the ripcord. I'm going to deglaze. So just a little bit of white wine. And you can see that deglazing has brought that fond up off the bottom of my pan. And I can get in here with a wooden spoon, or my metal spoon, and I can scrape the rest of that fond off. So a wooden spoon is really the best tool for fond harvesting, and this takes all the brown nummy bits at the bottom of your pan, and now it incorporates it into your liquid, which is going to give you a flavorful liquid. Okay, now an optional step is adding a little bit of chicken stock here. I want to wait till my wine is almost completely gone, and at this point I'm going to add in my fresh thyme, and here I'm going to add some chicken stock for a little bit of extra body. Now the reason why I wanted to wait till my wine was completely gone is because if you don't reduce your alcohol by at least half, you're going to always have that sort of harsh alcohol flavor. The reason being is alcohol cooks off at a lower temperature than that of normal water-based liquids. So if you add a water-based liquid to your alcohol before the alcohol has had a time to reduce, you're always going to have that harsh alcohol flavor. So now here I have a little bit of chicken stock, and I did just a little smidge at the bottom of the pan, and I want to reduce this until it's almost dry. Now this chicken stock has gelatin in it because it's a homemade stock, so the whole bones, they break down over time when we cook. So the collagen, the connective tissue that holds the muscle together and allows the muscle to do work, when you apply low, slow heat to it, that collagen is a triple helix of gelatin that unravels over time and breaks down into gelatin into your stock here, and that gelatin is going to give you body. Also too, it gives you viscosity. As we learned in our F-step curriculum, when we're making emulsions, the more viscous or thicker a liquid is, the easier it is to emulsify fats into. So that little addition of chicken stock that you then reduce down until it's almost gone is going to give you a little extra viscosity, so when you come back and you mount with butter, you're going to actually have an easier time of glazing your vegetables without it breaking. So again, we're going to take this almost completely dry, and when our pan's almost completely dry, we'll go ahead and turn the heat down, add in a couple nubs of butter here, give it a swirl. Now remember, butter itself is an emulsification. So if you allow the butter to get too hot, it will separate completely. So at this point, I'm actually going to kill the heat. I'm going to pull this off to the side, and I'm going to finish on my work surface. And this allows the rest of the butter to gently melt and to coat my vegetables. So what this does is it takes this nice light vegetable set and it gives it a really thin glaze or coating that then allows whatever flavors that you paired with the vegetables to cling to the vegetable. So each bite of vegetable is going to be really full and robust with flavor. So many times I get people in the restaurant that say, oh my goodness, the vegetable side that you did with X dish was so delicious. How do you guys do your vegetables? This is how. It's really simple. Saute, deglaze, reduce. If you have it, add a little bit of chicken stock for that extra body and flavor. Reduce that to where it's almost gone, and then emulsify in your butter all the way at the end. Now, because the butter adds some richness, it'll also coat the palate. So the fat, as we know, as it coats the palate, it mutes the flavors ever so slightly. So we'll add just a couple of drops of fresh squeezed lemon, which is our acid. The acid will help to cut through that fat and bring back a full-bodied flavor to our fresh vegetable set. So now we can take our vegetable set, put it on the center of the plate. Now these vegetables are so delicious just by themselves that you could serve this as an appetizer, you can serve this as a meal just by itself, and it'll be really, really good. Again, one of my favorite vegetable sides ever is flavor combination. So I've done this where you slice the zucchini and squash really thin and you pair with thyme and garlic. But thyme, garlic, and squash is just one of those classic flavor pairings, and classic for a reason because it's so dang good. So we'll go ahead and clean this up a little bit for presentation purposes, set this aside. And again, so this could be our set for our chicken dish or any other dish that you're doing. We'll present our chicken breast directly on top of this. In a professional environment, to keep this warm, you just kind of stick it under a heat lamp for a second. Also too, the nice thing about glazing your vegetables in this style is as long as the pan doesn't get too hot, you kill the heat, you set the pan aside. That glaze is gonna help to maintain heat and moisture. So you stick this usually on top of your stove in a professional kitchen or back somewhere where it's kind of warm, and it's gonna hold the heat until the rest of the dish is ready. At that point, you take the pan, you plate your veg, put your protein on top, and you're good to go.